Right. So today I would like to welcome Pierre. Pierre is from Phineas, and we've been actually working together for some years now, which has been fantastic. So it's a real privilege to have you on our Blueprints for Success series, Pierre.
Thanks for
And
having me.
you're more than welcome. I would love to know a little bit more around your background before we go into, let's say, business architecture speak and consulting conversations. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so basically, I had a favor for IT for all my life. I worked in one of my previous positions as a database engineer and supported channel services. So alongside this, my studies. And at some point in time, I was fed up with the requirements the business gave to me. So I said I could do this better. And then I switched sides and went to the IT business analysis, where I was a requirements engineer for 5 years. And then I switched roles and company. I went from Barclays, which is I think everybody knows Barclays, went to a subsidiary of an e-commerce company in Germany, Otto. Maybe you heard this. It's a competitor to Amazon. And we had a mobile payment solution in place. We wanted to be a competitor of PayPal. Long story short, we haven't succeeded. The company was closed. And during the last 1.5 years, my current company was there and introduced a kind of methodology, model-based methodology for requirements engineering and process management and some kind of an architecture thing. They didn't call it architecture, but it was architecture with the knowledge I have now. And this was something which was really astounding me, amazed me, and it awoke my interest. So I thought, okay, this is something I want to do. And then the boss of the company asked if I wanted to join him. And then this was nearly in the same time as Otto decided to close down the company. So I said yes. And that's where I am now. So I'm consultant for 8 years at Phineas, the consulting company which was at Otto, and switched to the role of a business architect, so having the more holistic approach and not the project silo approach, but more the projects and the program approach for 7 years now, being a CBA since 2021, and also I am in the meta model team of the guild for 3 years now. So it's quite a journey since then, and it's fun.
Do you love business architecture?
Yes.
Yeah, simple answer. What do you like about it? What do you think makes it good?
Good question. What I like about business architecture is the potential it has. So I have no idea about corporates. I have no idea about automotive, but I can go in there with my toolkit and can create a concept of an abstract concept of their company. And I can analyze it. I can do a roadmap or something like this, learn about the company, learn about the branch, the industry, and help them. Although I don't have any knowledge about automotive.
Yeah.
Now I have, but I haven't had in the past. So this is something I like. It's a very versatile tool you can apply nearly everywhere.
Yeah, it has those governing principles, right? Where you have to understand what it means to architect, but your context, you might be better in some industries than others, but your context is really, you can use it anyway, which is one of the best things about business architecture. So, key turning points. What are the key things that have shaped your career?
Yeah, I was, as mentioned, IT. I had my tools, I had my toolkit, and I knew how to apply them, and I knew what to learn, what to approach next. So it was a clearly written path where I need to go. Business architecture is something different for me. It's not about you need these tools, you need to apply them in this way, because stakeholders, if you have the role description of an architect, stakeholders mostly think you're an IT guy, application architect, solution, whatever. So business architect is just another IT role. that's something which was a real turning point for me, because I need to communicate a lot. My soft skills needed to, let's say, increase, because people really didn't know what I'm doing. I'm creating a capability map. What? Capability map is the capability is the same as the process. You need to, let's say, do really a lot of self-marketing there for the role. That was the turning point for me, because at one point I said, okay, is this really what I want to do the rest of my life? For now, yes. But sometimes I struggled. And in Germany, the business architect, or the role business architect, is used for different occasions. So sometimes on the macro level, where you go in the programs and over the initiatives and decide which initiatives are done. And sometimes it's on the micro level, where you go into the projects and do requirements engineering. And this is sometimes confusing the people. So you're putting in enterprise before business, or strategic business architect, something like this. And this is confusing. So we're searching for a different title there. So that's basically my experiences. So you need a lot of self-marketing. You need to persuade people that business architecture is of value for them, and it's not a straightforward way. And it's a big thing. You need to pick out what is good for you and what you like, because I'm not the one who's doing strategics or strategies, something like this. I'm the one in the machine room with capability mappings, value streams, cross mapping, something like this. This is where I'm feeling well.
So you also have to find your own personal, professional niche with architecture, is what I'm hearing you say. Yeah, I can imagine. For years, when I worked as a business analyst, I just really struggled with all the details that sometimes people would want in the requirements. It just wasn't my happy place, put it that way. So I do think it's important, because people have different skills. And when you have a team of, let's say, a team of architects, I think it's really important that they diversify to their core strengths. I know people often say, oh, you should improve your weaknesses. I don't believe in that at all. I'm someone who goes, if somebody else is really strong at this and I'm weak at this, then I'd rather get someone else to do that job.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different for everybody. But I can see that architects could play a delivery role, a strategic role. They could do a lot of things. At the end of the day, you still just got to understand the context and the architectural, like you say, toolbox that is in play at that particular point in time. So what would you say would the role and importance of business architecture be in today's organizations?
Organizations can run without BA, and they would succeed. But I think, and this is my humble opinion, that BA is crucial to the organization's success. So it will accelerate the change, and it will also reduce the amount of money spent on things, amount of wasted money spent on things, because business architecture or business architecture management is the navigator and provides the roadmap for the company. And this is the importance. So without it, it's possible, but with it, it's easier, it's better.
Yeah, I would agree with you, especially with the level of complexity and the amount of data organizations are going to have to manage. And you know me, I like using the examples of building a house, right? You can get your mates to build a house. It's just not going to be as good as an architect's house. It'll still be a house, but
You can live in it.
It's probably not going to be a really good one, though, which is the challenge. Is there perhaps a project or initiative that really stood out for you around the importance of the business architecture role? What were the challenges? What were the outcomes?
It was about relocation. We were in a project where it was more a program with the aim to relocate a complete company from Switzerland to Spain and make all the people in Switzerland redundant and get new ones in Spain. My personal advantage was I was not involved in any of the HR stuff. This is few, but it was basically all about capability mapping and business objects. So we made an analysis of what the current branch is, what is it capable of. We heat mapped it. So we said, where is it really good? Where is it automated a lot? What are the maintainability and stuff like that? So we had some KPIs, did a heat map for the current one and for the new one. And then we provided guidance based on the data we had on which initiatives should be started to move the functionality from Switzerland to Spain, and maybe also what roles, what we call it, an analyst's capabilities, what should they be capable of to do. This was really a fun project because we had we had the possibility to apply a lot of the toolbox, and I could draw many colorful diagrams with boxes and arrows, and this is what I like very much, and this would not be possible without the business architecture. So this would be a project which would run for years, and it wouldn't be successful. And it was painful, but successful.
That's really good. And it reminds me of looking at franchising, because it has a similar approach to different location, different resources, following the same business model, basically, but having to change all of the parts in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it reminds me of that kind of architecting franchise models, similar to what you're explaining there.
Yeah, and then the different cultures, the external
Yeah.
influences or then internal influences which come around, because Switzerland is a completely different country from a culture perspective than Spain. And
I believe that. To both. Even when you go through customs to get in, it's so different. So I can imagine it must be such a change.
Perfect. I've almost been nearly finished. The only thing we did also was, I like the term system archaeology, because there was no documentation. The documentation was implicit in the heads of the people, and in the systems, obviously, but there was no documentation else. And so we needed to apply our techniques from the IT era and get the capabilities out. We needed to watch the people. So all the observation techniques and standard requirements engineer has, and apply this to a business architecture perspective, which was interesting, new for me and interesting.
That is interesting. I like the term as well, because a lot of big businesses have had a lot of shadowware and technical debt, and people have done workarounds. So architecture can definitely help with that component, being able to realize some of those things. Okay, so let's talk about some exciting stuff, right? Let's talk about you and I have had a few conversations around this prior to this podcast, but tell me what's happening in the next 5 to 10 years. We spoke about AI, we speak about business architecture, there's lots of things. So I know we're both itching to have this conversation. So what are your thoughts?
My hope is the AI is getting more important. The projects will be more complex, as you mentioned it earlier. We will have to rely on more data, on more changing data on AI. The current trends of AI are so fast and in their advancement. It's frightening at some point how fast ChatGPT is. Yeah. In German, we would say Fluch und Segen, and I think it's pain and pleasure or something like this. I don't know. It's a wonderful thing, but it's a bad thing. But this, in general, I would say it's getting more important to being able to handle all the amount of data and complexity which is coming in the next years.
Yeah. It's been really interesting, because if you look at how much it's grown over the last year, it was almost impossible to keep up, to run things like courses, because a month later it's changed again and you're going, wow. Are there any insights you'd like to share with the public?
Apart from the others, from the standard ones, custom GPTs or ChatGPT in general, they do hallucinate. They are, sorry for the word, lazy bastards. They forget, and
Mhm.
it's very hard to work with them. You need to tell them a lot. So it's mostly about prompt engineering. You give them the right words, you put supplementary information in there, because you always need to expect that this guy, ChatGPT is mostly a colleague of mine, like you mentioned in your videos. So this guy is absolutely lazy, and he's not knowing anything about what I'm saying him. So I'm saying him really in detail every single step he needs to do. And then it works.
Mm.
But apart from that, it's helping me. So I'm, as you mentioned, I'm doing research. And we have a small team. We are trying to do business architecture with AI. So to develop small, let's say, programs which do some kind of or applications which help us in doing our stuff.
Yeah.
Doing an ontology check, doing a check on the completeness of validates the completeness of our capability mappings, something like this. And I don't know Python. I have no idea how this works. I can do SQL scripts, but I can't do Python. But AI helped me in creating my own application in 2 days, and this
Wow.
would take ages. So it's the main, let's say, advantage of Gen AI is it's an accelerator. It
Yeah.
makes things happen fast and really fast.
Yeah. Do you think it would replace people's roles?
No,
Mm.
because of the reasons: lazy, hallucinating, and forgets stuff. If they are capable of deleting these disadvantages, then maybe. But the thing is, stakeholders want to have a personal or personalized presentation of their information. They have concerns. They want to have these concerns addressed properly. And I don't think that Gen AI or AI in general will be able to do this
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah. I think that there has to be that human in the loop. So yes, it's going to give you something. You then look at it, analyze it, test if it's correct, and then you let it proceed to the next. This stage, I cannot see it automatically doing things.
No.
It's just not at
It's
that.
like doing, maybe it's so doing the analysis and making a proposal. And you as an architect need to look over the proposal and say yes or no, and then take it for future proceedings. But it will not replace us in the future.
Some people call it an intern. It's like having
Yeah,
an intern. So
it is.
someone with no experience but has some understanding, but not enough to actually make decisions.
Not
Yeah,
yet.
and not yet. And who knows? Who knows what the future holds? None of us really truly know. Are there any current challenges or opportunities that you're busy with at the moment? This could be just some things you're working with as a team.
We try to find use cases where we're doing identifying use cases where we can apply AI and business architecture. One of the disadvantages of business architecture management is its scope.
Mm.
And one advantage of business architecture management is its scope. So you have an holistic view, and it takes some time until you can put value out of it. And AI accelerates, it reduces the time and creates the first proposals. The intern
Mm.
creates the first proposals. And I now have a new name for my ChatGPT. And
Do you?
yes,
What's
yeah,
that?
no, it's the intern. Yeah, it helps create value faster. Yeah, and this is a good thing, a good opportunity for business architecture management. A challenge is that there are too many standards. I think there are 3 or 4, which is in my eyes too much. They try to differentiate from each other, and which is also not helping, because the discipline, the profession is quite new. It's 10, 15 years old, and if there are conflicting standards, it does not, it is not good for business architecture management to really be like a lighthouse or something like this. So it's conflicting, and it's not good. I don't like it.
So, and you're talking here specifically to the body of knowledges. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's different views, and one of the biggest conversations we've been having is that, as you mentioned earlier, the ontology, the language is so important with AI. If you don't use the right words, it will give you something else. So you might mean something. And as humans, when we talk to each other, we figure out what people mean as we're having conversations, right? We get the gist of it. It doesn't. AI uses your words literally to determine the outputs it's going to create. So yes, it is a challenge when you have these multiple different views of what the definition of these terms working with that environment. But I think it really is about education. If people understand that their words matter when they're using AI, it makes it easier for everybody to come to a point where you go, we all agree on this, and we're going to train AI to do it this way. But yeah.
Way, and to adjust on which standard is used. So which body of knowledge
Yes.
could be.
Yeah. It is do you have a preference?
Apart from the CBA, I also have the Bayern and the TOGAF certification, and the BISPOC is really the one which is the most complete in my eyes. And also from a business perspective, TOGAF is more like we have IT, we have the enterprise IT, and yes, we need a bit of business, and so we give them a face in the ADM, but it's not. They take over the business architecture guilds definitions more and more.
Yeah, agree. All right. So now's a good question. So what skills, competencies, all of that, do you feel will be very important for those in the role of architecture, particularly forward thinking as to what that would be?
You need to abstract, or you need to be able to abstract, and you need to be able to concretize again from the abstract, because stakeholders, they need, as mentioned, have to have their concerns addressed properly. So you need to talk to them in their language. You need to talk about show diagrams in their style of visualization with their amount of edible elements. So if they are overwhelmed with the number of elements on a diagram, you will lose them and you won't get a good decision from them. So you need to be good in stakeholder management. And also you need to be able to watch or to look over the edge of the dish. Yeah, you need to be compatible with other disciplines, or you need to know at least a bit. So fundamental knowledge in project management, in IT architecture, in strategy, process management, and IT business analysis. So you need to know what's happening there, maybe a bit more like just what's happening there. And it helps you so much when you know that. And I like boxes and arrows. I'm a evangelist of model-based business architecture, and so modeling skills. If you ask me, modeling skills, UML, Archimate, take whatever you like. But as soon as you need to visualize more than 1 or 2 dimensions, Excel is not helping you.
Yeah. It's not enough, is it?
It isn't.
And there's lots of tools as well coming out now from the original Archimate. I always say to people, Archimate's free, so there's always a good starting point, but you do get more models that are more visual, and so there's lots of things available. But I agree with you. You have to be able to design your architecture, because if you give just people a whole bunch of detail, they're not going to they're not going to really like what they're seeing.
They feel bored quite
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. So I agree with you that a modeling or a design, modeling and design skills are very important in that communication. And it keeps coming up now more and more, the stakeholder engagement. You're reinforcing this as well as such a critical skill to have in the business. So yeah, very interesting.
Fun side note, we are teaching our intern. We have a capability mining project with one of the universities here in Frankfurt, And the students needed to create an application which is using ChatGPT to mine for capabilities in documents. Really wonderful project. We can talk about that in later discussion if you like. And one of the requirements we had for the students was that the ChatGPT needed to replace his found terms with the terms that are used by the stakeholders. So like a translation or stop list. And because the customer then looked at this and said, okay, this is not our term. Can you change it? Otherwise, I will not use it. It's not enough. It doesn't have any value for me. Speaking the language of the customer or stakeholder is so important.
That context, so that it's relevant. Otherwise, that intern starts behaving like a salesperson. It's so frustrating when you read it. You're like, oh, that's just junk. Like, why would anyone say that? But yes, that context, as you mentioned.
Just buzzword bingo.
So when you were doing this at university and you used the term human interns.
So my project has had 3 students.
Yeah.
They were master students, and they didn't use the term intern. So they are students and used ChatGPT, but ChatGPT was their intern then.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. So the next question I have for you is, could you share some advice or lessons learned for people entering the field of business architecture? What advice would you give them?
Good question. Don't get overwhelmed. That's my first advice. The BizBook is a standard which is more than 900 pages long currently. There are many frameworks, there are many methodologies, many reference models and definitions. My advice is take one, start with it, stick to it, and at a certain point, look outside for the others.
Yeah. That's really great advice. And especially that overwhelming thing, because people think they have to have all these technical skills to start architecture, which is a complete myth. You really just need to be able to think through the concepts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take the relevant elements and put them together in relationship. That's basically all what architecture is about.
Yeah. That's good advice. Okay. Final question, and the most difficult question, Pierre. You could go back in time and give yourself a piece of advice, or your younger self a piece of advice. What would that be?
That's a very hard question. I'm very happy where I am now. I love my role, I love my job. And so I would say that the path I've chosen has been the correct one. So I would go back and say, do it exactly like you want to, because it leads to a good spot in time. I like it.
Good. That's good.
No change.
That's a great place to be in, where you feel like you're in the right place at the right time. That's really good. And I still haven't figured out my answer to this either, although I've had to start thinking about it during these sessions.
I think it depends also on the time of day you're asking me, and maybe how much do I have left until my next annual leave. But overall, I'm happy. So I have found the role I love. I've found a place where I can apply this role. What should I change?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great news. Okay, so Pierre, thank you so much for the interview, for Blueprints. I'm sure people can learn a lot from what you do, not only yourself in your journey, but also your business and the tools that you're using to help businesses grow. If anyone wants to be in touch with you, how should they get in contact? What's the best way?
I have a LinkedIn page profile, so you can just connect with me, or you can use my email address. So it's architects@finews.de.
Okay, perfect. That's fantastic. Thanks so much. It's been lovely having you here, and thank you for joining me in your evening. I know that isn't easy, and I appreciate the extra effort you put in for this.